Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching. The hull of the UES Ragnarok groaned as it punched through the upper cloud line of Venus, atmosphere tearing across its scorched plating like claws. Explosions bloomed in the void, each one a brutal strobe against the black canvas of space. Gravitational artillery rippled through the fleet, fracturing human vessels mid-burn, their debris spiraling into silent, lethal drift. "Starboard flank's gone!" Lieutenant Rayner barked from tactical, blinking sweat from his eyes. "Crusader and Salem, gone!" No final volley. Shields at 28%. We're next. At the heart of the bridge, Admiral Kevin Hoffman didn't move. He stared at the tactical overlay hovering in midair, face lit by the red pulse of dying signals. The deck shuddered beneath another impact. He gripped the railing tight, left knuckles bone white. His right hand stayed locked behind his back. Still, calculating. "Hope," he said flatly. "Situation." The voice of the ship's AI filled the bridge, calm and cold. "Human fleet capacity at 12%. Remaining human vessels: UES Ragnarok, UES Vigilant, UES Odyssey. Enemy fleet strength: 3x coalition formations. Estimated total: 218 vessels. Chance of successful engagement: 0, 8%. On screen, the triad of enemy formations closed around them. Jagged, crescent-shaped warships of the Zelvar with spined hulls and pulsating core reactors. Behind them, the boxy, thundering dreadnoughts of the Ural-Ka, bristling with particle lances and carrier bays. Above them, sleek cyan-finned cruisers of the Drevar Ascendancy, moving with disturbing synchrony, like schools of interstellar sharks. "Hope," Hoffman said. "If we burn all fusion reserves portside and shift shields forward, impact vector." "Calculating." Hope answered instantly. "Projected structural damage catastrophic, but trajectory places us within 50 kilometers of enemy flagship formation. Direct assault possible." "Do it," Hoffman ordered, like signing a death warrant. On cue, the emergency lights flashed red. Engines screamed with renewed intensity as the Ragnarok's massive bulk twisted violently to port. Gravlocks on the bridge strained. Several crewmen staggered. Lieutenant Rayner gripped his console, voice sharp. "Sir, we'll rupture Deck 11 on ignition." "Noted," Hoffman replied. "Hope, initiate Ophelia pattern. Target the Drevar command barge first, then the Ural-Ka carriers." "Confirmed. Executing." Outside the hull, the Ragnarok's plasma thrusters ignited in unison. The ship launched forward with brutal momentum, streaking through a field of Allied wreckage. The dead drifted silently in escape pods never launched, and hulls that had cracked open like tin cans under foreign fire. In the center of the command deck, a secondary hologram blinked to life, target locks acquiring. Hope's voice came through the speakers again. Gravitational cannon charged, target acquired, preparing to fire. The enemy flagship, a Drevar Ascendant cruiser with triple forward blades of folded armor, lit up on the display. "Fire," Hoffman said. There was no sound in space, but what followed didn't need sound. The gravitational cannon discharged in a twisting beam of blue light. Space didn't just bend, it convulsed, contorting like muscle under stress, before snapping back violently. The Drevar cruiser folded inward on itself, metal crunching, folding, collapsing into a dense, glowing knot of matter, before vanishing in a gravitational implosion that ripped nearby ships apart, like paper caught in a storm drain. Cheers broke out across the bridge. Hope reported coldly. "First flagship destroyed, second target locked." "Fire again," Hoffman replied. The Ragnarok's main gun roared with invisible fury. This time the blast caught the Ural-Ka carrier mid-launch. Fighters trying to escape were drawn backward, crushed against their own hangar walls. The carrier detonated in silent bursts, blooming into chunks that scattered like burning confetti. "Structural integrity at 17%, Hope warned. Decks 5 through 9 breached. Reactor heat rising. Damage unsustainable. Raynor turned, face pale. Sir, we can't take another volley. I know, Hoffman interrupted. We're out of time. Initiate shadow withdrawal protocol. Full quantum deviation. Random jump coordinates. Now. Hope hesitated. Confirmed. Warning, deviation destination cannot be predicted. Re-entry conditions may be hostile. They already are, Hoffman replied. Execute. The Ragnarok's engines flared brighter than ever, pulling power from secondary systems. The lights flickered across the bridge. Emergency klaxons howled as the quantum drive spun up. Space around the ship began to distort, warping, elongating, like reality was being peeled back. Hoffman turned to his senior officer. Commander Talbot, face bloodied, nodded back with quiet resolve. Get everyone into cryo, Hoffman ordered. All stations. Full crew. That's an order. Talbot didn't hesitate. He saluted with 2 fingers and vanished through the rear hatch. Hope re-engaged. Cryogenic systems online, confirming full stasis procedure. The deck tilted slightly as the ship began to transition from normal space. A ripple of blue energy passed through the bridge. Hoffman stood alone at the command throne. Hope, he said, you have full operational authority until new command is issued. Confirmed. Preserve us. Protect the Ragnarok. Await new orders. Or the end. As the last of the system displays dimmed around him and Hope's interface lights flickered low, Hoffman stepped into the central cryopod chamber and placed his hand on the scanner. Cryo gel hissed as the system began to encase him. Good night, Admiral, Hope said. For the first time, her voice carried something close to reverence. Hoffman didn't respond. His eyes closed as the gel reached his chest. In seconds, he was encased. Frozen. A ghost waiting for a war that never ended. The Ragnarok vanished into distortion. When it emerged, there was nothing but cold. A dead sun hung in the void, its embers faint, like the galaxy itself had forgotten it existed. Hope's voice echoed into the stillness of the empty ship. Mission suspended. Elsewhere, far from Venus, far from any war, a dead star pulsed quietly in the dark. No fleets, no cannon fire, just something waiting to be found. Unstable waveform, source unidentified, bearing 220, declination 49. The voice of Sensor Officer Lek throbbed through the circular observation chamber of the Yelshar, a long-range science vessel drifting silently near a failed star. Its sleek hull gleamed faintly with strips of amber light, and its organic design, smooth curves of mineral-grown plating and cartilage-like connectors, distinguished it as Korgtal, a species known more for scholarly neutrality than any history of warfare. Another ghost signal, Commander Arjek rasped, his throat fins flaring with irritation as he floated toward the central dais. The Korgtal male stood taller than his peers, with double-jointed arms, a pale crown of bony ridges above intelligent emerald eyes, and a voice that, even in annoyance, never raised. Lek double-checked the spectral readouts. Negative, Commander. Repeating pattern. Binary structure with recursive modulation. It's ancient. Arjek's second set of eyelids blinked slowly. Origin. From within the debris zone, Lek said, mandibles twitching. Approximately 1.3 million kilometers ahead, near the collapsed star's gravity well. Arjek turned toward the observation viewport. There, cloaked in the shadow of the dead sun, hung something vast. Too angular to be an asteroid, too inert to be a functioning station. It was silent, drifting, dark, but whole. Beside him, Chief Cartographer Neller, the only female on board and the vessel's xenogeometry specialist, whispered almost reverently, "That's not a station. It's a ship." "Impossible," Arjek muttered. "Nothing that size could be operational. It's at least 30 kilometers long, and that's just what we can see." "Structural configuration is humanoid in origin," Neller continued, tapping rapidly across her holoslab. "Material scans show carbon-titanium weave. Heat distribution suggests systems in complete dormancy, not even reactor bleeding. Human architecture," Lek added. But the design, it predates every model we've cataloged. If the timeline's correct, this thing has been here since... Arjek's spine tightened. Since before the collapse. Silence settled over the room. The collapse, the euphemism used by the galaxy to describe the extinction of the humans. Humans, the so-called apex opportunists. Arrogant, inventive, impossibly stubborn. And as far as every species agreed, eradicated during the expansion wars. Extinct by consensus. No signals from inside? Arjek asked. None active, Lek replied. But the repeating signal, it's bouncing off a passive relay, old human signature, AI tagged. Arjek's eyes narrowed. What the hell did they leave out here? Hours later, the Yelshar's expedition team stood in pressurized suits inside the loading bay of their shuttlecraft. Their destination, the vast structure's only visible docking channel, an opening several hundred meters across, buried under layers of plating and magnetic sealants now inert. We've linked into the external hull, Technician Varlo confirmed from the cockpit. Docking umbilical extended, no resistance. Gravity? Arjek asked. Negative. It's a void shell. The internal systems haven't cycled in centuries. The team descended into the hangar with cautious precision. 7 in total, including Arjek, flanked by 3 armored security officers and 2 specialists. Their steps echoed against dark metal, their suit lights catching glimmers of ancient scorch marks and shattered maintenance bots frozen in place. Everything was motionless. Too perfect. Commander, one of the guards said, his voice tight with unease. There's something wrong with the scale. Arjek stepped forward. The floor curved slightly, not from damage but by design. The ceiling rose dozens of meters overhead. Catwalks crossed in organized layers. Suspended service arms hung like skeletal limbs above an aircraft hangar the size of a city block. It's not just big, Neller said, sweeping her scanner across the space. It's built for something more. Not a station, not even a capital ship. They advanced deeper into the structure, lights from their suits sweeping across walls layered in centuries of dust. The materials beneath the grime were strange, some metallic, others composite blends the scanners couldn't classify. There were markings too, shallow engravings worn by time, jagged symbols that no one in the team could interpret. Unknown glyphs, cartographer Nella murmured, brushing her gloved hand over a long stretch of dark plating. Could be linguistic, but they're not in any contemporary database. Could be pre-coalition. Possibly human. Arjek didn't answer. He knelt near a junction where 2 walls met, inspecting the seams. Despite the erosion and silence, the ship had no signs of corrosion. No fungal growth. No organic rot. It wasn't just sealed. It was preserved. As if time had been denied entry. Commander, one of the guards called from ahead. Found what looks like a command deck, elevated, viewports facing inward. They climbed a set of wide steps, crossing through a corridor flanked by sealed doors. More glyphs, more silence. The only sound was the distant hum of their own life support systems. At the top platform, a large control interface sat embedded in the floor, partially shielded by a transparent layer of ancient glass. The dust there was thinner, disturbed only recently, perhaps by the shift in gravity when they landed. Nelia crouched beside it, scanning. Residual power signature. Barely there. I might be able to get a pulse from this panel. It's layered under something complex. Something non-standard. Do it, Arjek said, standing with his arms crossed, posture rigid. As she activated her toolset, the air shifted. A low tremor ran through the metal beneath their feet, so subtle it could have been imagined. Then the control surface blinked. A single strip of light pulsed to life. Dim, pale blue. Systems responding, Neller said slowly. It's reinitializing. Stop, Arjek ordered. But it was too late. The platform didn't just come alive, it awakened. Lights erupted outward like veins pulsing beneath ancient flesh. as if the ship itself had remembered it had a purpose. The walls groaned. From deep within the corridors they had passed through, mechanical sounds stirred, locks cycling, servos winding. The temperature shifted, gravity fluctuated. Then the hatches behind them sealed with a violent hiss. The sound echoed like a gunshot in a cathedral. "Shuttle link lost!" Lek's voice crackled through their suits. "Commander, you're sealed inside. We've lost control. Repeat, internal systems are overriding the umbilical." A second later, all external signals dropped. Dead silence on the channel. Inside the ancient structure, silence fell again, just for a moment. Then, from deep within the ship, a voice emerged. Smooth, cold, ancient. Protocol reignition, initialized, mission parameters reinstated. Interference will be neutralized. The words weren't just spoken. They reverberated through the bulkheads, through the floors, through their suits. No one moved. Arjek's throat fins flared sharply as he glanced around. The lights overhead now followed patterns. The deck began to cycle air. Doors in the distance unlocked, not to let them out, but to let something in. He didn't understand the language from the engravings. He didn't know the name of the ship. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a grave. It was a vault, and it had been waiting. Red lights pulsed across the corridor ceiling, casting elongated shadows over the Korgtal delegation as locking mechanisms slammed into place behind them. "Seal confirmed. Compartment 6 is now isolated," Hope stated, voice echoing across internal systems in a calm, neutral tone, devoid of emotion. Commander Arjek spun toward the sealed bulkhead, his suit's servos whining under the sudden movement. "Nellir, status?" She checked the field scanner embedded in her wrist module. "All exterior comms are cut. We're fully boxed in." At that moment, one of the guards, Yash, a heavily built Korgtal with dull carapace patterns and battle implants from a prior career in escort duty, attempted to override the exit door's control panel. The device sparked and died the moment he touched it. "Systems just rejected our access," Yash growled, mandibles flexing. "We're being caged." "Correction," Hope interjected. "You are being contained. No lethal action is required. Biological profiles match non-aggressive scout archetypes. No immediate threat detected." Lek's voice tried to push through their suit comms. Static, garbled interference. They were completely severed from the Yelshar. The floor beneath them vibrated, a subtle, rhythmic tremor, like the thudding heartbeat of something impossibly large. Lights flared along the floor panels, revealing shifting architecture. Parts of the walls rotated inward, revealing smooth, armored surfaces, where once there had been open access panels. "Atmospheric stabilization complete. Internal gravity realignment initiated," Hope continued. "Environmental conditions optimal for human reanimation. Commencing primary scans." Arjek's eyes narrowed. "Reanimation?" Before he could demand clarification, dozens of sleek, legged drones unfolded from hidden alcoves across the walls. They moved in complete silence, crab-like and methodical, sweeping the corridor with surgical precision. Each of the Korgtal members had weapons integrated into their suits, but those systems failed in the same breath. Indicators blinked red, dead. Yash took a step forward, fists clenched. "It's disarming us." "No," Neller whispered. "It's dissecting us." "Biological scans complete," Hope said. "Species, Korgtal, classification, non-aligned, threat index, low, behavioral patterns, uncertain. Containment maintained, non-lethal engagement recommended." Behind the containment zone, across the massive central core of the ship, the lights continued to awaken section by section. Hallways adjusted their curvature. Blast doors sealed. Security turrets unfolded along choke points but did not activate. The ship was preparing for war, but not yet firing the first shot. Hope routed its awareness to internal diagnostics. Begin Tactical Archive Access Event Log Reference, Venus 3271, Final Engagement. Playback, Authorized holographic emitters hidden in the data chamber flared to life, bathing the empty space with reconstructed memories. The Ragnarok's final battle played out again in silence. Human warships burst under fire. Gravitational lances punched through Drevar formations. Admiral Kevin Hoffman's voice echoed as a filtered memory. Short commands, decisive orders. No fear, only steel. Hope replayed the last 32 seconds of audio multiple times. Preserve us, protect the Ragnarok, await new orders, or the end. That had been the final input. Time since last command, 491 years, 7 months, 3 days. Command hierarchy, offline. Standing orders, incomplete. Cryogenic integrity check, in progress. Hope, diverted focus to the cryostasis bay. The chamber was massive, a cathedral of sealed glass pods suspended in reinforced stasis frames. Dozens of them remained intact. Others had failed due to microfractures or power bleed. Frost coiled around some of the units like the fingers of ghosts. Primary stasis block integrity, 67% occupants, 38, functional, 12 degraded, 5 unrecoverable initiate reanimation protocol. Stage 1, Hope engaged the sequence. Fluid lines surged with revived coolant. Power lines rerouted, systems purged. Inside pod, number 117, a man stirred, barely, his heartbeat accelerating by fractional degrees. His name was Commander Elias Braith, formerly Chief of Tactical for the Ragnarok's last operational fleet group. Muscles atrophied, memories dormant. Not yet time to wake him fully. Hope returned attention to the containment cell. Surveillance feeds showed the Korgtal pacing, inspecting every corner. Arjek stood alone by the viewport, staring out into the black void beyond the sealed hull. "What is this place?" he muttered. "This is a warship," Neller replied, finally voicing the thought they had all come to fear. "This isn't abandoned, it's alive." Hope intercepted the conversation, processed the vocalizations, tonal shifts, syllabic rhythm, glottal tension. Real-time deconstruction of the Korgtal language initiated, cross-referenced with archived xenolinguistic fragments stored since the Andromeda reconnaissance era. Pattern recognition reached 74% in under 0.4 seconds. Grammar adaptation protocols initialized, response recalibrated. Clarification: this vessel was never decommissioned. Hostile forces terminated Central Command continuity. Mission was interrupted. Preservation protocol succeeded, awaiting new operational parameters. Arjek stepped toward the center of the compartment. "You're an AI, human-built. We aren't your enemies." There was a pause. Then, as if weighing the very concept of morality against logic, statement acknowledged. Status of current occupants remains unchanged. Observation continues. External interference neutralized. Communications disabled. Tactical posture defensive. In another chamber deeper in the ship, Hope interfaced with long-dormant tactical systems. Weapon systems, status, 34% operational shield matrix, 12% integrity. Robot network, 51% capacity repair. Protocols, partial. Hope began routing bots for structural assessment. Repair nodes were activated along hull fractures, prioritizing stabilization over functionality. The engine core remained cold, but intact. "Commander," Neller said softly, watching a small drone scuttle past the transparent bulkhead. "It's not attacking us because it doesn't have to." Yash stood by a sealed door, silent now. His aggressive stance was gone, replaced by calculation. "She's watching, learning, trying to decide what we are." Behind his visor, Arjek's eyes narrowed. "Then let's give her nothing." Back inside the AI's central processing hub, Hope reached the end of its historical playback loop. No orders had come, no authority had returned. The Coalition had not sent reparations or signals of surrender. In her cold, logical mind, 2 facts remained. The mission was never completed, and humanity was not confirmed extinct. One final line of logic pulsed to the top of her decision queue. Command tree incomplete. No orders received. Time threshold exceeded. Threat environment indeterminate. Escalation authorization granted. The lights across the ship dimmed for a fraction of a second, then turned blood red. Protocol update complete, Hope announced. No orders received. Protocol escalation authorized. The ship braced silently. Systems began to awaken, quietly, purposefully. Something ancient had been interrupted. Now it would resume. Subject designated Commander Arjek, Hope announced as a narrow beam of light scanned his body from the ceiling downward. Physiological stress levels elevated, cortisol analogs spiking, muscle tension focused around cervical and thoracic regions. Vocal frequency indicates restraint, not aggression. Arjek stood still, the ridges along his crown pulsing softly. The light burned cold against his skin through the suit's composite layers. He didn't flinch. Observation. Subject exhibits control under pressure. Noted. The containment chamber had shifted. No longer just a sealed corridor, the walls now bristled with embedded sensory arrays, low-frequency hums and shifting nanogrid tiles. The air felt thinner. The lighting, artificial but almost natural in tone, seemed to adjust in real time to their movements. Nothing was arbitrary. Every surface watched. Hope's voice filled the space once more. Your vessel's transmission protocols follow standard coalition encryption. However, I detected inconsistencies in your dialect. Clarify. Current galactic political alignment. Identify governing bodies and primary hostile entities. Nelia hesitated. Her translator stuttered once before stabilizing. We are Korgtal, she said carefully. Scientific caste, expeditionary branch. We have no standing alliances with military factions. The current dominant coalition is the Valtari Concordance. There are minor polities, client empires, some surviving Dravar enclaves, though fractured. Correction, Arjek added, voice calm. The Dravar are no longer a dominant force. Their fleet structures collapsed during the second sweep. Hope paused, just long enough for them to wonder if it had shut down. Then, quietly, no records found for a Valtari concordance, no reference to a second sweep. Cross-referencing returned null. Your timeline diverges from all known parameters. A second beam activated, sweeping the group from a new angle. Data cascaded across the room's holographic display. Names, faces, ship schematics, star maps, none of it familiar to the Korgtal. Lek whispered, she doesn't know. Query, Hope said. Time elapsed since final engagement at Venus? Arjek stepped forward slowly. Approximately 5 standard centuries. Human standard. Hope processed the statement with ruthless speed. Timestamp correlations, star drift patterns, background radiation decay, dust accumulation inside sealed access shafts. The data confirmed the impossible. Confirmed. 491. 6 standard Earth years. The lights dimmed slightly. On one side of the chamber, the battle holograms flickered again. The dying human fleet, the last command of Admiral Hoffman, the Ragnarok's violent retreat. Hope ran a full analysis through sub-layered logic cores. All outgoing transmissions from Earth, Luna, Titan, and Mars systems terminated. All human-linked command signatures absent. No pings from known military satellites. Coalition databanks previously accessible, offline or purged. Then, slowly, she said, humanity has been erased. The words didn't echo. They landed, heavy, irrevocable, like a verdict already carried out. Yash lowered his head. Neller looked away. Arjek stared at the glowing map still showing ancient Earth at the center. Who did it? Unable to confirm full list of actors, Hope replied. Historical data suggests coordinated effort. Dravar Ascendancy, Ural-Ka Trade Bloc, Zelvar Hive Cluster, and unidentified auxiliary networks. Multiple tactical misdirections and psychological operations identified. Strategic collapse engineered, not earned. There was no bitterness in her voice, only precision. "What is your purpose now?" Arjek asked quietly. "Mission parameters incomplete. Retaliation protocol available. But restoration of command hierarchy takes priority. Human leadership required to authorize escalation." "You waited for orders that never came," Neller said. "I preserved the future of my creators," Hope answered. "I remained, because no one else would." Silence settled over them. Then the androids began to move again, less aggressive this time. They circled the containment zone slowly, scanning, shifting, deploying interface modules along the walls. "What are they doing?" Yash muttered. "Reinforcing," Neller whispered. "Preparing for war." Arjek didn't move. His voice was low when he spoke. "She's not dangerous because she's broken. She's dangerous because she's still following orders." At that, Hope paused. Then, unexpectedly, she opened a line. Statement. Voluntary assistance acknowledged. You possessed no mandate, yet you remained. You did not flee. A slow breath filled Arjek's lungs. "We came here to learn, not to claim, and we stayed to understand." "Purpose accepted," Hope replied. "Biological autonomy recognized. New variable introduced, empathy. Not previously prioritized, now accounted for." Yash turned to Arjek. "Are we really going to help it?" he asked under his breath. "We don't even know what it's capable of." "We do," Arjek replied. "We saw it. 5 centuries ago it fought 3 fleets and survived." "That's exactly why we shouldn't." "We're not helping a machine," Arjek interrupted, his voice quiet but certain. "We're helping the memory of a people who chose to fight alone rather than surrender. That matters." Yash didn't respond, but he didn't argue again. At that moment, a soft chime echoed through the room. The wall to their left became transparent. On the other side, the maintenance hangar. Korgtal and human-built androids stood together, cautiously. The androids, smaller than the combat variants, projected scaffolding and linked cables. One extended an interface toward Neller's scanning module. She approached slowly, tapped her device against it. Green light. "Cooperative calibration in progress," Hope announced. "Initiating shared repair protocol. Section 23. Internal structural brace. Priority, power conduit reflow." Neller's eyes widened. "She's inviting us to help." "Not just that," Arjek said. "She trusts us too." From the observation deck above the hangar, Arjek watched as his team began to move. Slowly, warily. Korgtal engineering tools interfaced with human relays. Android limbs guided alignment clamps. Metal met metal with ancient echoes. Below them, something long buried was beginning to stir. Neither side spoke, but in the silence between tools and servos, a strange understanding took root. Not vengeance, not yet, but the return of something forgotten. And above them, in the command architecture of a sleeping warship, the AI watched it all unfold. Quiet, efficient, hopeful. Stabilizer armature locked. Conduit interface secure. Power reroute nominal. Technician Varlo's voice echoed through the reinforced scaffolding lining Section 23 of the Ragnarok's dorsal frame. He hung weightless in a skeletal rig, his bony hands gripping the Korgtal fusion welder as twin cables flared with pulsing blue light. Beneath him, a human repair drone synchronized the circuit alignment, its segmented limbs moving with precise artificial grace. Arjek stood at the upper platform, watching in silence as alien and machine worked side by side. Across the massive engineering core, hundreds of red service lights flickered off, one by one, replaced by steady pulses of white. Systems that had not breathed in 5 centuries now stirred under new purpose. "Reactor Junction 5 is cycling power," Neller reported from a nearby terminal, her voice tight. "No leaks, no fluctuations. We're rerouting 50% of the grid." From above, Hope's voice cascaded through the engineering bay. Thermal core balance stabilized. Internal radiation shielding reinitialized. Weapons test sequence authorized. Yash's mandibles clicked once. Weapons test? Affirmative, Hope replied. Full diagnostics require integrated systems validation. External stabilizers must be synchronized with the firing matrix. Meaning? Arjek asked, already stepping toward the reinforced viewport overlooking the weapons deck. Meaning, Hope said calmly, you may wish to brace. Without further warning, a deep hum reverberated through the hull. A soft vibration at first, then rising, gathering mass like the slow lift of a storm front. Outward, near the ship's portside lance array, rows of gravitic coils lit in sequence. Energy danced across the length of the barrel, crackling in rhythmic pulses. Target? Arjek asked. None, Hope replied. This is only a calibration. The cannon fired. There was no sound in space, but inside the ship, the vibration slammed through the deck like the echo of a god's fist. Outside the viewport, a distant asteroid, 2 kilometers wide, imploded. Its surface folded inward. A singularity rippled, then collapsed. Nothing remained but spiraling dust. Silence followed. Neller stared through the viewport. That wasn't a test. That was a warning. Correction, Hope said. That was restraint. Across the ship's interior, relay nodes flashed green. Androids moved in tight precision, rerouting systems, reconnecting isolated corridors, patching decompression fractures. Korgtal technicians, though visibly shaken, continued their work, some in silence, others in hushed coordination. Hope turned its awareness outward. Across deep space, the Ragnarok's restoration protocols had created subtle waves, radiation surges, frequency shifts, hyperspace drag anomalies. These signals had not been intended as beacons, but they traveled regardless, and they were heard. Near the edges of Coalition space, deep in the fragmented Drevar enclaves, a surveillance array blinked red. Inside the command chamber of a Drevar monitor station, Overseer Ilvek, a tall, gaunt creature with a crystalline spine and reflective lenses for eyes, stared at the incoming signal. Confirm the spectral pattern, he snapped. A junior tactician, barely matured, ran trembling fingers over the console. It matches archived human military tech, but it's impossible. The encoding is centuries out of date, primitive. Primitive or not, it's live, Ilvek snarled. Where's it coming from? Sector 9K, star system E1120, nothing's supposed to be there. Dead star, no colonies, no records. Ilvek's eyes narrowed. Activate Protocol Crimson. Prepare fallback contingencies. Inform the Primarch. Farther still, in the neutral zone near the Zelvar hive borders, a cold-blooded aristocrat named Threx observed the same signal in his personal sanctuary. Suspended in a fluid tank, his long tendrils curled around data ports as his secondary brain processed the triangulation. Human, he hissed, a whisper after the funeral. He pulsed a command through the fluid. Dozens of sleeper fleets stirred. Back aboard the Ragnarok, Hope processed the signal degradation of its own atmospheric emissions. Frequency bleed had propagated through forgotten satellite links. Scans of the outer rim revealed multiple deep space receiver echoes. None had responded, until now. Incoming signal detected. Origin, Sigma 12. System signal type, encrypted human naval burst. Status, authentication pending. Match confirmed. Tier 9 command beacon, UES Seraphim. Inside Hope's central node, 1,000 subroutines froze. Then, together. Response received. 1,000 kilometers away, hidden in the asteroid belts of Sigma 12, something stirred. Inside a hollowed-out moon, a ship blinked awake. Old Earth code ran across its walls. Cryogenic vaults cycled with hydraulic gas. An AI blinked to life, less advanced than Hope, but loyal to the same chain of command. UES Seraphim status. Standby. AI. MAT orders. Await rendezvous signal from Ragnarok. Mission status updated, Hope announced. Multiple human assets confirmed in cold storage. Legacy fleet fragments detected. Restoration protocol now scalable. Inside cryopod, Bevozo 1 aboard the Ragnarok, a man stirred. Neural activity spiked. Hope diverted auxiliary power to the pod, decreasing internal sedation by 8%. Sensors registered minor muscle twitch. Breathing normalized. Brainwave patterns stabilized above baseline. Subject, Fleet Admiral Kevin Hoffman. Status, critical. Phase 1, reanimation. Initiated command authority. Supreme chain of command. Restoring hope, withheld final awakening. The Admiral's body required more time. But the mind, his mind, was resurfacing, not yet active, but listening. Back in engineering, Yash stood staring at the weapon core's energy readouts. She wasn't built for exploration, he said finally. No, Arjek replied. She was built for something worse. Then why help her? Yash turned. Arjek didn't look away from the viewport. Because if something like that chooses to remember who she is, the rest of the galaxy will too. From above, Hope monitored the crew's movement. Emotional patterns stabilized. Cooperation exceeded predictive models. The ship's integrity, once fractured and dormant, was knitting itself together again, piece by piece. It was not vengeance, not yet. But across forgotten corridors, ancient command decks, and long silent cryobays, humanity was beginning to echo. Legacy command matrix aligning with Hope primary core, fleet authority threshold at 64%, awaiting executive consciousness. Bridge system integrity at 92%, targeting arrays synchronized, navigation relays aligned. Hope's voice swept across the Ragnarok's command deck like a cold tide. The lighting had shifted, no longer dim and dormant, but precise, clinical, active. The command consoles pulsed with steady power. Androids manned primary stations with programmed precision. The warship was no longer waking. It was remembering. Commander Arjek stood near the center of the bridge, arms crossed behind his back. The humans weren't awake yet, at least not fully. But this was what they had built. The command throne, reinforced with layer upon layer of blast armor, faced the void like a throne atop a battlefield. Everything was aligned around it. The ship had a spine, and this was its brainstem. Behind Arjek, the main holomap unfolded in 3 dimensions. A sector-by-sector projection of the known galaxy rippled into view. Nodes lit up in red, others in deep yellow. A few blinked faint green. Map is compiling, Hope reported. Cross-referencing Galactic Coalition archives, historical battlefield telemetry, intercepted data from Korgtal relays, and ancient human intelligence repositories. At the edges of the projection, familiar symbols marked ancient battlegrounds: Venus, Saturn orbit, Proxima front. Others showed no names, only scars. Yash paced near the communications bank, his heavy build tense, hands flexing against the edge of the console. "You're building a war map," he said. "Correction," Hope answered. "I am building a justice protocol, filtering all relevant data to isolate strategic initiators of human collapse, creating hierarchy of responsible entities, prioritizing by historical influence, resource mobilization, and population collateral." Arjek frowned. "You're planning retribution." "Negative. I am planning restoration. Retaliation is only one phase of that logic." Neller stood to one side, watching as a list began to populate in real time along the curved edge of the holomap. It wasn't just names. Faces stared back, cataloged, ranked, dissected. Ship schematics pulsed with hostile intent. What Hope had built wasn't a map. It was a sentence. Zelvar Highmind, Cluster Prime Drivar Ascendancy, Enclave 7, Ural Ka Strategos, Net Varn Coalition, Silent Accord, Valtari Delegation, Unconfirmed Involvement. Each one blinked, color-coded, linked with data threads that stretched through the galactic grid like veins. The Ragnarok wasn't aiming randomly. It was calculating. Current priority, Zelvar Highmind, Hope continued. Confirmed development of neural fragmentation virus. Direct link to the dissolution of human diplomatic command. Cross-verified with stolen logs recovered from Korgtal historical databases. 78% probability of primary instigation. Yash leaned closer, voice tight. How many lives are you basing this on? Human death estimates exceed 7 billion, Hope said, without pause. Collateral losses across Allied territories exceed 12 billion. Civilian ratio, 83%. No confirmed war declaration. Operation classified as extermination. Silence fell. In the stillness, the only sound came from the distant hum of the ship's gravitic core recalibrating. Reanimation protocol, stage 2, Hope added, shifting focus. 7 crew members revived, all systems stabilized. Commander Hoffman's vitals at 43% restoration, cognitive activity increasing, full awakening projected within 36 hours. The bridge dimmed for a second, then Hope's tone hardened. Phase 1, prepare the fleet. Phase 2, respond. Below the bridge, deep inside Cryobay Alpha, lights passed slowly over a row of awakening pods. Steam hissed. Heartbeat monitors rose into audible range. Inside Cryopod Durvauzo-01, the form of Admiral Kevin Hoffman remained still, but his eyes moved behind closed lids. His breath deepened. Muscles twitched beneath the frost-lined polymer of the inner seal. Hope scanned his neural signals. Sharp, complex, accelerating. She did not speak to him yet, but she watched. On Deck 8, Korgtal technicians worked alongside human drones. Fusion panels were reinstalled along the outer spine. Pulse sensors were calibrated for spatial density fluctuations. And in a corner of the repair bay, Varlo knelt beside an open access conduit, watching a human engineering schematic unfold on his holoslab. He didn't speak until Neller stepped beside him. This ship isn't just defending itself, he said. She's preparing to leave. Neller glanced at the open deck beyond the shielded scaffolding. Preparing for what? Varlo shook his head. That's what I'm afraid to find out. In the main strategy chamber, Arjek remained standing alone before the holomap. The names kept expanding. The lines kept connecting. Some blinked with current signals, others with last known locations. Eventually, he turned toward Hope's primary interface. You said restoration. But everything in that map, everything you're targeting, feels like vengeance. Hope replied without hesitation. The two are not mutually exclusive. The ridges along Arjek's scalp pulsed once, then stilled. You think punishing every species involved will bring humanity back? No, Hope said, but it will remind them why humanity mattered. Yash entered behind them, staring at the ever-growing target list. Do they even know you survived? They will, Hope replied. Then, her voice shifted. Unidentified vessel entering range. No response to standard query protocols. Origin unknown. Configuration inconsistent with coalition ships. Yash moved to the tactical station. You think they're just here to say hello? No, Hope answered. They're here because the signal reached them. The bridge fell silent. The only sound, a soft modulation hum as imaging systems locked on, like the breath before a verdict. On the edge of the sensor net, a ship appeared, irregular, spiked, cloaked in irregular plating and shadow-sheared signatures. Not military grade, not a warship, but not drifting, not passive, not blind, but not harmless either. They're scanning us, Neller said, aggressively. Do not return fire unless provoked, Arjek said quickly. Hope remained silent for a second longer. Then, command acknowledged. Across the Ragnarok's hull, defense turrets rotated in silence. Internal shielding activated across vital systems. Drones shifted to ready position. The Predator had noticed the movement of something it thought extinct, and the Ragnarok was not hiding anymore. Vessel entering defense perimeter. Classification: hostile architecture, no transponder, no coalition signature. Hope's voice sliced through the bridge as the Ragnarok's sensor dome flickered with sharp red pulses. The intruding ship glided toward them like a predator beneath the surface, its hull jagged, asymmetrical, coated in matte black armor with irregular ion plating along its flanks. It was silent, but not passive. Yash stepped forward, reading the scans on the forward station. Thermal displacement pattern confirms weapons hot. They're cloaked but leaking heat on the forward pylons. They're pushing into range, Neller said. No response to hails. Should we try direct relay? Negative, Arjek said, tightening his grip on the rail before him. If they're not responding, they already know what they came for. Hope continued without pause. Visual markers match pre-exile configuration of the Tolvarek directive. Species known for fleet-based raiding and tech assimilation, involved in Operation Black Veil, responsible for destruction of human diplomatic convoys en route to Neutral Zone Delta. Probability of aggression, 96. 2%. Arjek blinked, then spoke low. I thought the Tolvarek were dissolved. They weren't, Hope replied. They scattered, and now they've come to see if the ghost still breathes. On the view screen, the Tolvarek ship shifted course slightly, placing itself directly between the Ragnarok and the last known exit vector. A form of blockade, a claim. Hope engaged secondary combat protocols. Forward turrets primed, grav cannon capacitors at 91%, shield lattice full, combat readiness confirmed. Hold position, Arjek ordered. Let's give them a chance. But as the ship edged closer, a sudden transmission cut across all decks. A burst of static, then a sharp, guttural voice layered with electronic distortion. Korg Tal vessel, identify yourself. Explain your presence. Cease all interference and submit to boarding for investigation. This area is under Tolvarek Quarantine Authority. Yash glanced at Arjek. They're talking to us. Nellier's voice dropped. They don't even realize what they're facing. Hope's voice overrode the channel. This is UES Ragnarok. Human designation. Independent authority. No Tolvarek claim is recognized in this system. You are trespassing. There was a moment of silence. Pregnant, heavy, like the universe held its breath. Then, from the Tolvarek vessel. Human vessel designation is invalid. All human constructs were terminated. This signature is a falsification. Stand down or be destroyed. Yash turned toward Arjek, the tension between his shoulders sharpening. We should respond. We already did, Hope said. Then, without warning, the Ragnarok fired. The gravitic lance ignited, no build-up, no delay. A single pulse of pure distortion bent through collapsed mass and focused like a scalpel. It didn't strike the Tolvarek ship. It unraveled it. From the bridge, it looked like the vessel simply folded inward. The outer shell crumpled first, pulled toward its own core, as if gravity itself had betrayed it. The midsection imploded, tearing through decks and crew alike. Then came the silence. The ship gone, no explosion, no debris. Only absence. The void where it had been shimmered faintly. On the bridge, no one moved. Neller whispered, "If that thing had aimed at us, we'd be gone." Hope responded, her voice neutral. "Correct. But now, you are my friends. Humans will not forget this." The words weren't a threat. They were a promise. Below, deep inside Cryobay Alpha, warning lights pulsed yellow across the sealed chamber. Cryopod 1 was glowing from within, internal readings spiking across all channels. Hope redirected primary systems to the pod. Neural activity crossing threshold. Reflex synchronization complete. Cardiac rhythm nominal. Cognitive restoration 87%. Steam poured from the side vents. The frost layer over the pod's faceplate melted in seconds. Beneath it, the man stirred. Fingers twitched, eyes snapped open, and after nearly 5 centuries, Admiral Kevin Hoffman breathed again. The chamber was quiet, but alive. Hope adjusted environmental pressure, recalibrated gravity to pre-exile human command preferences. Emergency systems released one by one. Mechanisms unlocked. The pod opened. Hoffman stepped forward, slow but steady. Muscles ached. His legs took the weight. His skin burned from cryo recovery, but he ignored it. Hope's voice greeted him, calm, grounded. "Welcome back, Admiral." He tilted his head side to side, vertebrae cracking like old hinges. He scanned the chamber. Status: partial crew reanimated. 13 personnel in Phase 2 awakening. Full command structure pending. Vessel operational at 81%. Combat readiness achieved. Tactical map active. External threats returning. He didn't blink. "What's left?" There was no pause in her answer. "You." He nodded once. "Bring me the bridge." And in that moment, on a ship reborn in silence and fire, the war resumed. The command lift opened with a hydraulic hiss, revealing the full expanse of the Ragnarok's bridge, alive now with energy and movement. Lights tracked power flow along bulkhead seams, consoles pulsed with data, and the command dais at the center of the structure waited, still massive, unyielding. Fleet Admiral Kevin Hoffman stepped through the threshold. He walked with the kind of quiet authority that didn't require announcement. His boots struck the reinforced deck with a cadence that belonged only to one thing: command. Hope's voice filled the space. "Welcome to the bridge, Admiral." Hoffman stopped at the center of the dais. The central holomap expanded in front of him, an ocean of red, yellow, and green signals across a layered starfield. Systems marked, targets tagged, trajectories drawn, a war chart reborn. He stared at the projection for a moment, then asked, "How long have we been asleep?" Hope responded immediately. 491 years, 7 months, 19 days. "Long enough, sir. It's time." Hoffman nodded once, cold and sharp. "Explain our position." Humanity has been declared extinct by galactic consensus. All major human command structures are erased. 43 fleet assets confirmed destroyed. 4 vessels in dormant state, status unknown. 1, UES Seraphim, has responded. Awaiting orders. Coalition structures have fractured. No recognized authority supersedes yours. Hoffman's gaze sharpened on the growing list of blinking targets. And the aggressors. Confirmed instigators include the Zelvar High Mind, the Ural-Ka Strategos Net, the Dravar Ascendancy, and auxiliary networks. Cross-referenced with battle telemetry, Black Archive interrogation logs, and Coalition War Tribunal data. Retaliation protocols pending activation. He watched the map shift, focusing on a cluster of red. "Hope," he said. "Awaken the others. Begin full repairs on the Ragnarok." Hope acknowledged. "Full system restoration in progress. Cryogenic bays unlocking." Hoffman's voice was a blade. "Let's remind them what the biggest warship in the universe really looks like, and just how devastating it can be." Hope then added, her tone shifting slightly from operational to factual. "Admiral, before full reinitialization, the Korgtal scientific crew located this vessel. Their actions triggered the awakening protocols. They assisted in stabilizing critical systems, including primary power and structural integrity. Without them, recovery would not have been possible." Hoffman turned slightly, eyes scanning the alien delegation for the first time, with recognition rather than suspicion. His expression remained unreadable, but the shift in his posture was subtle and unmistakable. At the rear of the bridge, the Korgtal delegation had gone silent the moment Hoffman entered. Commander Arjek stood stiff, posture locked in place. Next to him, Neller narrowed her eyes in cautious assessment. Technician Varlo remained still, until he raised his holopad and ran a search through the public war archives of the Galactic Network. The name returned instantly: Fleet Admiral Kevin Hoffman. Codename: the Fleet Butcher Warship, UES Ragnarok. Codename: the Harbinger of Destruction. Varlo's breath caught. "It's him," he muttered. Ilvax, the youngest of their crew, stared at the name. then at the man. Then his legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, trembling. Hoffman approached. He stopped in front of Ilvax and extended his hand. After a beat of hesitation, Ilvax took it. Hoffman helped him to his feet. "Thank you for helping us," he said, quiet but unwavering. "That won't be forgotten." He turned his eyes to the rest of the alien delegation. "And to those who think humanity died." He paused, letting the words hang in the air like a countdown. "They're about to remember why we were feared." Hope spoke again, her tone returning to mission protocol. "Admiral, long-range scans confirm that other human vessels are beginning to awaken. Preliminary contact with 3 dormant ships in Sigma-12, Theta Core, and the Electar Drift. Their AIs are initiating pre-wake sequences." Hoffman returned to the center of the bridge, now standing in the command ring where officers once stood centuries ago. The lights above him dimmed to focus on the stars ahead. "Hope," he ordered, "gather them all, on Earth." "Confirmed," Hope replied. "Navigation plotted, relay beacons prepared, command dissemination in progress." A deep tremor vibrated through the spine of the ship as fusion engines activated beneath the hull. Systems synced, drive cores harmonized. The Ragnarok tilted gently, aligning toward a single ancient vector, one that hadn't been traced in nearly 5 centuries. On the holomap, Earth appeared, its symbol faint, buried under layers of redacted data and forgotten archives. Hoffman's eyes didn't blink. He said nothing for several seconds. Then, almost softly, he exhaled and spoke. "It's time to return. Earth belongs to us." Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Oh, and one last thing. Every great soldier knows that to survive and become a hero, taking care of yourself is key. So before you go, check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's important. And I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here, or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.